Hey, what's up? Great Aries. I hope you don't mind being called Great Aries. A little bit of inside YouTuber statistic baseball real quick for you. Your name's pretty cool, the Great Aries. Taurus has a pretty cool name, Big Bull Taurus. However, in my attempt to come up with an interesting name for Cancer, I did not quite come up with anything, so I just went with the Cancer the Crab. But when I look at my Cancer watch times, it's like 5 seconds. And what I wound up saying was like, hey, what's up, Cancer the Crabs? Welcome to this tarot reading. So I'm insinuating that from the very fast click away from the video, that a lot of Cancers don't like being called crabs. I think it might speak to their emotional nature. And I didn't mean to call them Cancer the crabby, emotional people. I really just meant the animal crab, but when I reviewed the video, I realized that I came off that way, so. Luckily for you though, Aries, you have a cool name. Your nickname is pretty cool. You and Taurus have got the cool names for now. Big Bull might even be a little cooler than Great Aries, to be honest with you. It's just, for Cancers, I accidentally called them Cancer the Crabs, which is interesting because I think they actually are known for being emotional. So I might have, just saying, the YouTube statistics spoke wonders on that one. So, alright. So sorry about that. I just wanted to let you know that, tell you that story while I was trying to get a card to shuffle out for you, but you haven't had anything drop yet, so real quickly I'll also stipulate all the typical disclaimers, which means all typical disclaimers are assumed and all non-typical disclaimers are asserted. And also check below for the timestamps in the video description or under the search bars, the seek bar. I'm not sure which one it's under, but they're at least in the description as far as I know. And you can skip past my random mumblings and bumblings while I get a card to drop for you, because it is not my prerogative to draw cards off the top. I prefer a much clearer message from Spirit through the most clear message is when a card actually drops. The next is when a card flips out, and then every once in a while I'll take a card that is sticking out. If it's protruding quite well, then that can be a good enough sign to me as well. But that unfortunately requires that I take a while to do the shuffling, which can wear on your patience, and if that's the case, then just make sure you check the timestamp and you can skip to the drop, because sometimes I have to sit here and stall for like 7-8 minutes, and we actually have Aries on the bottom of the deck here, which is pretty cool because I think Aries came out in your last reading. You had the Emperor come out as well. So make sure you utilize the timestamps. It's not every read takes a while like this. Some of the reads I've gotten up to like 3 or 4 cards by, the 3-minute mark sometimes at some points. Virgo's read was fast, Scorpio's read was fast. There was another read I just did that was pretty quick. Not all the... Okay, so here we've got... there's 4 cards there. So at this point we're at 4 minutes and I haven't had anything drop for you. The closest thing you had was Emperor on the bottom of the deck. So despite the fact that it can take a minute to shuffle, do the shuffle, the reading builds up, the readings have tended to build up a lot of momentum. So it can typically take me to like, take me a while. Almost had the Knight of Swords flip out there. It can sometimes take up all the way up to the last couple of cards to really get the gist of the message. And there's 4 cards again. I'm not going to take those either. So very often it will, if you're trying to get to like the conclusion of the message, which is typically what the title is resonating about, you can skip to the final timestamp, and that will typically have gotten me to the point where I have decided to conclude the reading to some degree. And I'll basically just spend from that timestamp to the end of the video finalizing the message. So, and I know oh, and then look at that. We even have the Emperor on the top again in the upright for you. So your energy is trying to come out in this reading, and I'm not sure what it is. And every time I like say something like that, I keep seeing the freaking camera flicker out in the corner of my eye. So I'm sorry about how much. Sorry that this is taking as long as it is, but it is. There's something that's trying to be said here, and I'm trying to get it to finalize its message, but it is taking me a second. So I apologize for that, but there's a good shot that there's something interesting here. So, but I'm kind of running out of. Okay, so here we have two cards that just came out for you. So as soon as I was about to give up on even trying to entertain you, quote unquote, trying to fill the void, trying to like stall for time, I get two cards to a certain extent. So let's see what you've got here. And let me choose which order I want to do these first. So if these flipped out, the bottom card would be first. So I'm going to insinuate that the first card is in fact the card on the bottom. So we are looking at, oh, and the Empress just tried to come out, and it just came out. So that was that. I had the Empress in my hand, flipped over, and then I put it back, and here it is again. So something about the Empress. So you may be a feminine Aries. You may be dealing with a feminine Aries. If you, whatever the I mean, whichever one it is, there's some kind of blocked feminine intuition. There's femininity that is not flowing properly. And I just saw a flicker in the camera when I said that again. Which, usually my reads aren't doing that, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen for the whole freaking reading. But the idea here is that you are, like, this is essentially the most feminine card in the entire deck. It's the combination of all of the Queen suit cards. So this also embodies a lot of different energies. And the clear message atypically with this card is it's just like, it's also not just femininity, but it is like the feminine quality to lead, the leadership quality, but not necessarily like an atypical leadership of like fashion. It's like, it's sort of like what femininity can produce, what femininity provides. But the problem here is it's in the reverse, so there's some kind of blockage. Like intuitive blockage is kind of part of it. Maybe there's like emotional blockage, and that's deterring the flow. That is also part of what it could be. Not entirely sure. The Two of Pentacles next is very simply a card of balance. And it's not exactly a card of balancing like 10 pounds on one hand and 10 pounds on the other hand. It's not exactly about like logical balance like that. It's also got to do with balance being required to flow. And the great example is, of course, H2O. It takes 2H and 1O. Therefore, if you try to get further with 10 million H and 0 O, you will get absolutely nowhere. And no matter how much more effort you put in to get all of that extra hydrogen, it doesn't actually work because you need the oxygen balance. So essentially what this card is suggesting is that you've got, there's an instance where like there has to be some balance into the mix. Otherwise you're wasting your energy. And it's in the upright, which means that it's a good sign that you can find that balance, and essentially it's some kind of emotional, sort of more intuitive notion. Kind of off the top of my head, what I'm kind of seeing here is like Maybe you're like too masculine. Or maybe you're relying too much on your mentalism. And that doesn't have to be, of course, a girl. You don't have to be a biological girl to deal with this. If you are lacking in your femininity, energetically speaking, you can run into this block of turning off your intuition, so to speak. However, you're in a good spot here because it's not actually suggesting that you're out of balance. This card is signifying the balance is in place, so I wonder what this clarifier is to try and get any further here. The moon in reverse. So the moon, interestingly enough, is also a card that has to do with intuition, because it has to do with seeing the truth beyond what seems like the obvious truth. It's about hidden truth. It's about the moon being there even when you can't see it. And if you take it at face value, you might assume there is no moon, but that would be faulty truth to rely on, because there is moon, even though you can't see it. And the moon in the upright has to do with you getting caught in that delusion, but because the moon kind of signifies like things that aren't as they appear, that is why in the reverse actually serves the moon. The moon is served in the reverse, which is, most cards aren't. There are cards that do that, and the moon is one of those cards. So to a certain extent, the moon reversed is signifying you finding that intuition. So it's very interesting here, because it's basically saying that you might need to seek your intuition, but that you will in fact achieve that balance. It's not even suggesting here that you would struggle to find your intuition. Maybe you have just lost your way and you understand exactly what I'm suggesting to you, and it makes sense, because that's kind of what it's suggesting here. It's suggesting here that you have the capacity to find your balance, and that is going to reignite your intuition. You're going to be able to sift through life even better because you are relying on your intuitive capacity to determine truth, as opposed to getting caught in the more I don't, maybe commonsensical things, like, and that's not exactly true, but like, that's not exactly what I mean. I'm having a little bit of trouble articulating off that part, but you sometimes, like, the obvious truth isn't actually the truth, and it's not. And even though it could seem like the truth from the material senses, there are utter realities that conflict with that notion. And the intuition that this is calling you to is how you find that truth. It's how you resonate with the utter reality as opposed to the supposed material world of purely just the senses, which would in fact insist to you with all of its heart and soul that there is no moon when you cannot see it, whenever your heart would disagree in that moment and suggest that there is a moon there still. So it's interesting how it's calling you to that. So that's a good sign. If it was like, if these two cards are reversed, that would be a sign that you are like super stuck, and that it would take a lot more to dislodge yourself from being stuck in that fashion. But I mean, the outlook here is very good, that you can figure out how to balance your intuition out. So that does make me a little curious about what's knocked it out of line. Maybe, I'm not sure, anxiety, some kind of anxiety, but there's not really any cards of anxiety here. The moon maybe a little bit, but you're getting over it. So let me see here. Wheel of Fortune reversed on the bottom. Not helpful. Three of Swords. Not really. Most that would be as a warning that you in fact don't figure out how to, but going to try to look for a clearer message than that, than just kind of speculating on the split like that. But we are at 15 minutes, and even though these 3 cards are kind of giving you a clear message, I'm going to see if I can find anything else here. 10 of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck. That would be pretty cool to achieve with your... And then the King of Swords in the upright. So that's kind of an interesting split. That would be a... I mean, being able to achieve that level of material abundance with a partner would be pretty cool. With the King of Swords, that would be pretty cool. So maybe that's something that you could achieve if you were able to embrace this quality better. Whoops, I'm sorry, my camera flickered there. Flickered again. Dang it. Hope it doesn't keep on doing that. Not sure what's going on with that. Most of the videos, it doesn't happen, but every once in a while there's a video where my camera starts to get all fidgety and stuff. Or it starts to do that weird digital lapsing. So, not sure what's up. And then, this is a good message. It's honestly a pretty great message. It's a message of finding balance out of illusion by embracing your intuitive capacity, which is all meant to serve you, and it all helps you in your ability to judge properly and achieve your desires if they're based on the more wholesome truths of the universe. It's more likely that they're going to be able to help you out with achieving what you're trying to achieve. So there we have the Temperance card almost flipping out, which plays into this, because in order to achieve this balance from this state, you would be called to temper yourself. You would be called to temper your qualities. You would be called to not just be comfortable with whoever you are, but to in fact care about embracing a better quality within you. And that is how you would rise above this. If you chose not to temper in any way or shape or form, you would get stuck on imbalanced within this illusionary realm. But with the Temperance in the upright almost wanting to flip out there, that's a good sign that you are. And then with these cards too. So if the Temperance were here in the upright, that just keeps on speaking to the fact that this is something that you can overcome. And that's something that you wouldn't even be resisting it. So, and as long as my camera doesn't completely, yeah, I'm super sorry about that. Sorry, I'm cycling the light here. Maybe that's gonna help it out a little bit. Okay, well, who knows? Maybe I'll need a new camera at some point. maybe. Okay, so I'm almost feeling like maybe I should just cut this video. And I think that I've gotten far enough here. Even though the cards aren't that much, with the Temperance trying to fly out, it's very clear. It's a very clear message, and you might have gotten the point. So maybe I don't need to keep pushing it. So I think at that point I'm just gonna cut this video. I'm sorry, I couldn't even get much else out of the deck for you anyway. But this is actually pretty good. This speaks well to your character, that you are willing to change yourself for the better. And that's really cool to see, and it's exactly what I would expect from the great Aries themselves. So, alright Aries, I'm going to leave it at that since my camera's being finicky for you, so thanks so much, and take care.